Safety is the #1 priority here at the Rue Companies. Having a strong safety program is good business practice and is good for business. Hello, my name is Jeff Butts. I'm responsible for safety here at the Rue Companies. Please pay close attention to the information in this video. The safety policies and procedures you're about to see really do make a difference. A lot of it's common sense, but all of it's crucial to the jobs we do. Thinking safety first could prevent serious injury or save your life.
We're going to take a close look at 4 important areas in our business: material loading, pre-trip inspections, job site inspections, boom operations, and boom safety and material handlings. Areas are established in each yard and warehouse for activities such as shrink wrapping pallets, building metal packages, and any other staging activities. These staging areas shall be well out of the way of any forklift or truck drive aisles. Only necessary personnel should be in the loading areas, such as the driver or helper assisting in loading, strapping, or tarping the load. A fluorescent yellow shirt or vest must be worn at all times when in the yard or warehouse area. This policy includes office personnel or any visitors entering the yard. Before any driver climbs behind the wheel of one of our commercial trucks, he or she must pass a physical examination, drug screen, road tests, written tests, and have the proper classification of commercial driver's license. Every driver must complete a written post-trip vehicle inspection report at the end of each shift. If any problems are detected, make sure it's written on the post-trip report. In addition, every driver must conduct a pre-trip inspection, a walk around their vehicle at the beginning of each shift. One copy of the inspection report stays in the vehicle, and the other copy will be given to your supervisor. It only makes sense that no vehicle should leave the yard if it's in an unsafe condition. With our boom trucks, the following items must be inspected before heading to a job site. Check fluid levels and hydraulic filters. Also check all hydraulic lines and fittings for leaks. Check the cylinder for leaks or droppage. Check for cracks in boom stabilizers and pedestals. Check the remote control unit for proper operation and that the battery is fully charged. Moving drywall from the yard to the job site is the truck driver's responsibility. It requires skill, patience, and attention to detail to do the job right. Handling this job safety begins with well-maintained equipment. After a truck is loaded and you're on the road to the job site, drive defensively. You will need to be particularly mindful of bridges and overpasses to avoid driving into a low bridge. Observe if road work has been done near the bridge, which could affect the suggested height clearance. You'll need a 13.5-foot clearance for a fully loaded boom. A driver should continually check the mirrors to make certain that the load hasn't shifted or the straps haven't become loose. If this occurs, it's a good practice to do a roadside shakeout. This means pulling over to the side of the road, rechecking the materials to make certain the load has not shifted or any straps have become loose. Avoid use of your cell phone while driving or operating equipment. Manually dialing a phone while driving or operating equipment is prohibited. If available, hands-free voice-activated dialing on your speaker and microphone may be used. If these features are not available to you, pull off to a safe location or stop the equipment when using a cell phone. Keep all road conversations to a minimum. Texting is prohibited at any time during operation of trucks or any other equipment. Our fully loaded trucks carry a lot of weight that could cause problems when approaching a job site. Driving over septic tanks, water meters, sidewalks, driveways, and underground utilities can cause expensive problems. A common problem is driving over ground leveled out with fill dirt that is not solid enough to support the weight of the truck, and of course, we must always be alert of low-hanging power lines and tree limbs before parking. Once you arrive at a job site, park the truck safely on the street and then begin surveying the area for a good unloading point. Look for a firm, level spot as close as possible to the home or building. Try to pick a place for the entire building to be stocked without moving the truck. Never set up a boom near overhead wires, never boom in an area where cars or people could move through, and never ever boom over an area where people are working. A spotter or helper should assist the driver to find a safe unloading spot. He or she should identify potential hazards that could cause damage to the truck or that might be damaged by the truck. This includes rubbish piles, septic tanks, glass, unstable earth, and electrical wires. Don't ever try to move electrical wires that may be in the way of the truck. The possibility of serious injury or a fatal accident is simply not worth the risk. Once you have reached a safe unloading spot, leave the engine running, the transmission in neutral, and the parking brake on. Now you're ready to set up the crane. The first step is to engage the power takeoff unit, or PTO. The PTO uses the truck's engine to power the crane's hydraulic pump. Engaging the PTO is much like shifting a gear. With the transmission in neutral, push in the clutch and activate the PTO switch or knob, then slowly release the clutch. Consult your supervisor for the procedure that's best for your truck. Once the PTO is activated, let the crane's hydraulic fluid warm up a few minutes. In cold weather, this could take 3 to 5 minutes. While the fluid warms up, visually inspect all crane hoses for leaks. If leaks appear, notify your supervisor. If everything checks out, remove the boom retaining strap or pin and check for pooling of hydraulic fluid, especially under the PTO. Once the hydraulic fluid is warm, it is safe to lower the stabilizers. If your truck is equipped with pressure gauges, make sure to get a reading. Now lower the stabilizer's outriggers while checking the cylinder heads and hoses for leaks. The stabilizer's outriggers act as support for the crane. They keep the truck from tipping over when a loaded boom is extended out to the side. Only when the stabilizer's outriggers are secure is it time to move the operating controls. Once the truck has been stabilized on the job site, we need to always remember to exercise the boom before proceeding with the end unloading. This includes running it through all of its functions. This should be done at least one time during normal operating conditions, and up to 3 times in cold weather conditions, or if your truck has just come out of the shop and has had hydraulic work done. This will purge the air from the lines, eliminating the possibility of jerking or dropping. Boom safety. Think weight before you begin to boom. In most cases, a lift load should be no more than 2,800 pounds. The number of pieces that you can safely lift depends on the size of the material and distance of the load from the base of the crane. It's important to understand that a telescoping boom becomes weaker as it's extended. Discuss with your supervisor the right counts per lift for each length and type of material. To pick up a lift, bring the forks into position and gently slide them into the opening. Raise the boom while closing the forks to cradle the load. Now bring the load close to the center of the truck and keep it there until you need to extend it to the unloading position. This puts the least amount of stress on the equipment. Booming requires teamwork. Your partner should be clearly in sight and help guide the lift. He should use clear, consistent hand signals to direct the placement of the load. Don't rely on voice commands to guide the load. Voice commands can be lost in the job site noise. The final position of the load will depend on the opening you choose to bring the load through. You should maintain as much distance as possible from the sides of the opening to avoid damage to the building. Also, watch for overhangs. The boom will raise several inches as you unload. This can cause damage to the building or to boom hoses if there is contact. It can't be repeated enough. Don't ever boom over people, and when possible, avoid booming over anything that might be damaged. If you experience a problem with a load, contact your supervisor. Another potential problem is hydraulic oil leakage. Oil damage can ruin property and lead to equipment failure. If the leak is small and in a non-critical position, you could possibly continue with the job, but watch the boom to make sure it's not drooping or drifting. A drooping cylinder can damage a building or cause a load to be dropped. Do not rotate the boom at high speeds against the boom stop. Double check the safety alert that illustrates this precaution. If you experience a major leak or blown hose, stop operating the boom immediately and press the engine kill switch on the remote. Immediately contact your supervisor. Do not attempt to stow the boom or raise the stabilizers, as this can cause further damage. Contact with an electronic power line is the single most dangerous problem you will face on the job. Never boom within 20 feet of any live electrical wires unless the lines are de-energized or insulated. Have your supervisor contact the power company to de-energize or insulate if required. A boom operator's helper has one job and one job only when the power lines are within critical range of a crane, and that is to watch and make certain that we are not violating the 20-foot rule. Keep everyone, especially your helper, out of the safety zone when you're operating your truck. This is especially important not to be in contact with the truck. If you do make contact with the live wires, try to swing the boom out without downing the wires. Under most circumstances, you should not leave the truck or touch anything else unless you are clear of the wires or the lines are de-energized. If you are not clear, touching an object on the truck could electrocute and kill you. Warn others to stay clear and have someone contact the power company immediately. I'd like to talk to you about safety in our remote-controlled trucks. Before operating a radio remote-controlled crane, the operator needs to be properly trained by a qualified operator. While operating a crane, there are several safety procedures that need to be followed. First and most important is always position your spotter and yourself in a location that you will not be under the boom or the load. There are two shutdown functions on the radio. First is the hydraulic shutdown, which is the red button in the middle of your transmitter. This is a last resort button. Second is the engine kill toggle on the left-hand side of the transmitter. This function should be used if you happen to lose control of the crane or if the hydraulic hose were to blow. Like the manual controlled cranes, when you operate a radio controlled crane, the crane functions need to be feathered to operate smoothly. Material handling. The reason we are in business? Getting our products to our customers efficiently and professionally. Material handling is not an easy job, but it can be financially rewarding if approached properly, especially putting safety first. Board handling requires experience and it takes strength and stamina. That's why it's important to stretch and loosen up a few minutes before each delivery. This helps to avoid pulled muscles and strains that can keep you off the job or slow you down. Before you and your partner begin the material handling process, take a moment and review this checklist. Inspect the area. Is it safe and clear of any hazards? Report any damage to your supervisor prior to stocking. Determine the entry point. Understand exactly where you will be targeting the material. Determine the entry method. How are you going to get it there? Will you use the boom, a Teledyne forklift, an elevator, or a boom and box? Determine how the material is going to be stocked and determine exactly where the material is to be stocked. Make sure the area is clear and that it's safe to work, and importantly, contact the local superintendent to determine if any special conditions or hazards at the site exist that could impact your job. Whenever possible, avoid entry points requiring window removal and disassembling scaffolding. Only after you have agreed and communicated clearly on the checklist is it time to begin unloading and moving product. Planning every step of your material handling with your partner is standard company procedure, and it's the right thing to do. Be aware of what personal protective equipment is required on each job. It's company policy that employees wear steel-toed footwear. Hard hats are required on all commercial jobs and any jobs with overhead exposures. Gloves are required when handling any metal products or any sharp objects. Many jobs may also require eye protection. Don't carry drywall by yourself. As the material is pulled off a boom or forklift, use the slide board or an equivalent to make the job easier. Get a firm grip on the board and pull smoothly, avoiding jerking or excessive leaning or twisting. Keep your back straight and use your leg muscles to leverage the load. Keep the load as close to your body as possible. You and your partner must work as a team while carrying the load from the front point entry to the stocking area. Watch for overhead clearances and utilize dollies to make your job moving board easier and efficient. To use a dolly, floors must be capable of supporting a concentrated weight of up to 2,000 pounds. A dolly is only effective in areas clear of debris to facilitate rolling a load. When loading, keep the dolly from moving by blocking the dolly wheels with dunnage or a board, not your foot. Place the bottom edge of the drywall against the rear top of the dolly platform. If you are carrying the board to the dolly, be careful to set the length of the board gently on a platform and arrange it so that it lands flush. The slide dolly or equivalent allows the drywall to slide directly off the boom forks onto the dolly as demonstrated. Lean the top part of the board against the top part of the dolly, slowly and carefully to avoid tipping the dolly. Continue until the dolly is stable and filled to a safe rolling capacity. Make sure you don't overload. This can cause a dolly to spill, possibly causing injury to workers and damage to the material. As you move toward the unloading area, it's safer to push the dolly than pull it. Pulling is more likely to spill a load than pushing. Pushing is also much easier on your back. When you have to unload board from a dolly, block the wheels and lock it down about a foot from the stocking area. We recommend a sliding gravity technique to most efficiently unload the board. The job isn't complete until the board is stocked properly. As part of your checklist, you should have already identified the proper stocking area, making sure it's free of moisture, nails, or sharp items that might damage the board. Importantly, it should be an area that does not block other work areas that require immediate access. Some markets dictate board to be stocked flat on the floor. When this is the case, set the first board gently on the edge and lower it from the top edge down flat. After that, lean the board one at a time over the top edge and let gravity take care of the process. Be aware that some markets may dictate that you put dunnage under the board for flat stocking. Once you've unloaded the dolly, line the sides and ends of the board with the stack. Some markets dictate board to be leaning against the wall. When leaning the board against the wall, make sure you use a load-bearing wall. If possible, do not cover up doorways or fireplaces. Remove all nails and hazards that might tear the top of the board. As you unload the board, remember to bend your knees and keep your back straight. This reduces the possibilities of injuring your back. As you lower the board to the floor, keep your top hand on the top of the bundle to provide balance. Work with your partner. The company recommends no more than a 17-inch wide stack be placed against any one wall. Once a job has been completed, but before leaving the job site, be sure to look around and make certain that everything is where the customer would want it. Make sure windows have been replaced and doors reattached, and that everything is in the same shape or better than how we found it when we arrived on the job site. After you have completed stocking, recheck the area and the work ticket. Make certain you haven't left any tools on the job. Meet with the superintendent to sign off on the ticket before leaving the job. Remember to report any injuries and property damage to your supervisor immediately. If there are any problems, your supervisor will let you know how to respond. Window removal. One challenge that slows us down and becomes a real safety issue is when we must remove or cut a window. Avoiding this path is the best plan, but not always possible. Our first choice would be to have a contractor handle the removal, but there will be times when you'll find it necessary to handle the task. First and foremost, if cutting the window means working on or near the edge of a home or building, the company requires guardrails or safety harness and lanyard. There is no exception. To ensure safe window removal with zero or minimal damage, stockers must use the proper tools to complete the task. Always wear gloves when removing windows. OSHA requires the use of fall protection where you have potential fall over 6 feet. When you're removing a window as described in this video, make certain to use the fall protection that includes a harness and lanyard. If you have any questions, please contact your supervisor. On virtually every piece of major equipment used by the ROO companies, you'll find a warning label or safety sticker. Keep these labels clean and read them. If they are worn or unreadable, replace them. They are there to remind you of potentially dangerous situations and to protect you. One of the most important safety techniques you can practice is communication. If you have questions about a particular working situation or job site challenge, contact your supervisor and ask. We are all in this together, and together we can make our jobs rewarding, productive, and safe. This video was produced to bring us together and to examine the best practices that will keep us safe on the job. It is not a replacement for your equipment operator's manual. It's simply a tool we use to keep us all on the same page and a reason to discuss challenges we all face. If you have any ideas that will make the Rue Companies an even safer place to work, do not hesitate to share those ideas with your supervisor, and each idea will be evaluated.
Thank you for your time. A strong safety program is good for you and your family. It's also good for business. As you've just heard, communication is key to a strong safety program, so let's talk and think about safety in every task that we're assigned. At the Rue Companies, putting safety first is the right thing to do.